Welcome to Did You Know on AM 1410 WLSH, the show featuring government officials, civic leaders, or business people joining Captain Jack Kulp live from our studios in Burbank. Kidding, to talk about topics or events in your community. Heck, they might even bust some myths. And now, here's Captain Jack Kulp with Did You Know?
Well, thank you very much, Jim, for that gracious introduction. This is Captain Jack Kulp, and today, my guest, I am honored and pleased to be joined by Mr. Chris Lukasevich. Mr. Lukasevich is running for Carbon County Commissioner, obviously in Carbon County.
Yep, in 2019, Jack.
Yeah,
correct.
2019. So, good morning, Chris. A pleasure to meet you.
Well, good morning, Jack, and thank you so much for being able to share with you a little bit of time and also with your listening audience. You know, WLSH has a lot of nostalgia for me, having been raised right here in Carbon County. Probably most importantly, as a high schooler, you know, listening for those snow day announcements here on the radio. So it's great to be back here and again connected to WLSH.
Wonderful. It's indeed a pleasure to have you, Chris. So, what we're going to do is I'm going to let you tell the audience a little bit about yourself and what you're doing, and give us a little bit of background, if you would, please, Chris.
Yeah, absolutely, Jack.
Yeah.
Well, Chris Lukasevich, raised right here in the heart of Carbon County in Jim Thorpe. I was blessed to grow up in a wonderful neighborhood there in Jim Thorpe, surrounded by wonderful children, wonderful caring mothers and fathers who played a critical role in helping form my character and work ethic.
Right.
And that really evolved into job opportunities in the Jim Thorpe area as a youth, working at Nesquehoning at Coniglio Stand at the base of the Broad Mountain, a couple of years out at Beltsville State Park.
Right.
I would want to mention, though, back in 1966, I was 4 years old, and I had a significant event that would really shape my life and my career. And for the listening audience who might not, of course, be able to see, I have a record album in front of me. And, you know, I kind of posed a rhetorical question, you know, what was the number one song in the month of March 1966 into the first week of April?
Yeah.
And that was Staff Sergeant Barry Sadler,
Right.
Ballad of the Green Berets. And at 4 years of age, when I wore the needle of my big brother Lukey's record down to a nub, I determined that I wanted to be a Green Beret. And when I graduated from high school there in Jim Thorpe, I joined the U.S. Army, enlisted in September 23 in 1980, and I spent the last 34 years of my life serving my country as an airborne ranger, Green Beret, Army Special Forces. And that allowed me to reflect as I approached retirement on what was the critical factors of my success, raising from private to sergeant first class, and then actually all the way in retiring as a full bird colonel. And it was the character formation and the work ethic that I developed with the assistance of my neighbors, my friends, and my mentors right here in Jim Thorpe in the Carbon County, greater Carbon County area. So as we approached my retirement decision, my wife and I said, where do we want to come back to and ensure that our children will be enticed to come back to? And the one place that had been an anchor our entire married life and my military career has been Carbon County. And we decided to come back to Carbon County. One, so our children would always have a reason, justification to come back to this area. Their aunts, uncles, cousins, grandmothers, and such are in the area. But I knew it was an opportunity for me to pay back the blessed life and career that I've been given by these citizens, not only for the formation of me as a person and a professional soldier, but also, really, I would say that the blessing of the training, the education as American taxpayers that they provided me. As you well understand, the Army is a very education and training focused. Over 34 years, I had over 12 years of training and education. And that was all because of the investment that the taxpayer made in me. So for me, This is payback. Running as Carbon County Commissioner is taking those leadership and management skills that these citizens have provided me, opportunities, and giving back to this community that has meant so much to me and has been so critical in all my successes, personally and professionally.
Now, the first thing I want to say is thank you for your service.
You're welcome.
You know, thank you very much. I'm a Vietnam veteran, so yes.
Yep.
So, and for those of you who are not aware, the training that's required to become a Ranger and a Green Beret is brutal at best. You know, it is very tough to get through, and I admire the fact that you came up through the enlisted ranks and retired as a full bird. Right. You know, congratulations.
Well,
that's
terrific.
So
much.
And thank you for serving.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to tell you as a listening audience, you're welcome to give us a call here at 570-645-3123 or toll free from anywhere at 800-326-9574 if you have any questions or comments for Chris. And I'm also going to remind you that this is not the White House press corps. You don't get to call and ask him a question and then argue with him about the answer. No. You know, so please be nice. Chris took this time to come in and talk to us today, so I think we owe him respect and gratitude for running for county commissioner. That can be a thankless job at best.
Yep.
And for obviously his service. So thank you very much. So let's talk about what you're looking to run for county commissioner. What do you see as some of the issues that face Carbon County? And that what is let's look at some of the issues first, Chris.
Yeah, I think first and foremost, Jack, and I think the most that impacts each and every one of us every day is when we get that tax bill.
Yeah.
Be it property assessments that really we're looking at both a county tax, a school tax,
right.
School district tax, and a municipality tax. We've seen just simply since 2008. I'd like to look into about a 10-year period. We've seen a 39% increase in county taxes over that 10-year period.
Yeah.
We've seen a 19% increase in school taxes. So what can we do to lessen that burden so that people can stay in the homes, mostly our older fixed income senior citizens?
Right.
I think, Jack, we've become complacent or kind of breathe a sigh of relief when they say, well, we're not raising taxes this year. Well, for me, that's not the standard we should be shooting for. It's not simply we shouldn't be raising taxes, but how do we lower taxes? Now, that's extremely difficult. There's many unfunded mandates that come down from the state, but you have to have that mindset of how can we become more effective, more efficient to reduce that burden on Carbon County taxpayers, to include those who are being assessed for properties or for municipality taxes that we might have. So taxes significantly. How about job opportunities?
Yeah.
We see the Lehigh Valley is just growing astronomically. Average weekly wages here in Carbon County about $699. You go down to the Lehigh Valley, you have $902 you'd be earning a week. Nice. I looked at on Mother's Day. I went to the LinkedIn, the Carbon County, kind of job website, and I noticed there were only 11 job offerings in Carbon County. There were 135 in Lehigh County.
Wow.
Now, so what's that causing? Now, not only do we have this disparity in growth,
right.
Even look at Humboldt up in Hazleton area, the development that has taken place there.
Right.
But now we're diminishing our quality of life because our citizens are having one of the longest average commutes in the state of Pennsylvania because they're traveling the far end of Hazleton. They're traveling down to the Lehigh Valley, 30.2 minutes. The Census Bureau says that's the longest average commute in the state of Pennsylvania.
Wow.
Now, the Bureau of Labor Statistics puts it as number 7 of 67 counties.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, that's quality of life. That's 30 minutes on each end that you're not spending with your family.
Right.
You're not helping your children.
Right.
You're not attending their sporting events or just simply sitting down and relaxing. So I think those are significant issues. Then we have transparency and accountability. Now, why is it when today I can't simply walk into an office and get information I have a right to know in a public office. I have to do a right to know request, and that's a burden on my time, and then it's a burden on that elected official or that civil servant. So we're wasting all this time.
Right.
So why can't we be more transparent as we produce documents in county and local government? Those things are posted on the web. All right, I may have to take a few minutes to search for them, but they're easily available, readily available, and it saves time, and time is money for everyone. So that's kind of that transparency issue. And then you have accountability. Effective. We want to ensure that our folks are working in government effectively and efficiently. So what are the methods and measures of evaluating our public office holders? So if you say the method is we're going to count the number of, let's say, marriage license you process, and excellent is 90. So, okay, let's make that an annual goal, and if you are able to process 90 marriages license, great job. Maybe there's an incentive for you to reach that.
Sure.
Well, if you don't, let's figure out what are the tools or the training you or your office needs to become more effective, more efficient, and to meet our expectations of taxpayers.
Right.
So there's some of the issues I saw. And I'll hit on one other one because I saw it again starting to rise up already this summer with the concerns about out in Beltsville State Park,
right,
where you have garbage, littering, maybe some violations of park rules and policies. And we see that considerably at Mock Chunk Lake Park, a county park. Just last year, we actually had made the decision to arm our rangers in Mock Chunk Lake Park. And I think that is absolutely justified from the analysis I should see. But it's a sad state of affairs that we're at that point. So what actions are being done? To me, there are some, but they're not being effective because we're continuing to see the problems reoccur.
Right.
So we're not effectively and efficiently addressing the problems that we have, Jack.
Okay. Well, Chris, we have a break to take here, but when we come back, I think this might be obvious to you, but the tax situation and the job situation couple together. And the tax burden on our businesses and whatnot, that has an adverse effect. And, Chris, we could talk about that when we come back. We'll be right back with more Did You Know? With Mr. Chris Lukasevich right after your latest AccuWeather forecast.
Did You Know? With Captain Jack Kulp will return in just a moment on AM 1410.
Thank you, Jim. Yes, it does continue right now. This is your host, Captain Jack Kulp, with you, and I'm honored and pleased to be joined by Mr. Chris Lukasevich, who's running for county commissioner in 2019 in Carbon County. So during the break, Chris, we were talking a little bit based on your comments about tax burden and whatnot and jobs, okay? The taxes also are a heavy burden to businesses, and therefore, the businesses are either currently located, but they can't expand because the tax burden is so great, or other businesses looking to locate in Carbon County decide maybe not to because of the tax burden.
Right, great point, Jack. Yeah. And as an elected official, particularly at the level of county commissioner, we have a responsibility to set the conditions in the environment that will attract businesses into Carbon County. Right. We've had a significant decline in the number of employers that employ 50 and above. Now the mom and pops, the coffee shops are great for this community, but we really need to find those opportunities where we can attract larger employers who help beef up the tax base and take some of that burden also away from the private citizen. But again, you have to have inducements. You have to leverage those economic opportunity zones. We just had the opportunity here in Pennsylvania, and it really stems from the 2017 passage of the Tax Act under President Trump, to nominate areas within Carbon County for increased opportunities when it comes to the federal and other tax burdens placed upon it.
Right.
Of the 3 areas in Carbon County, unfortunately, not one of those 3 potential areas that could have been nominated was even nominated to take advantage of the Tax and Job Act that was passed. And that was unfortunate. That was an opportunity missed. But again, it seems, Jack, I mentioned this during the break, it seems like after the Packard and Yards, let me be harsh and say debacle.
Yeah,
I don't understand why one would want to build on a floodplain. It seems like an incredible burden for insurance. But we do have other areas within Carbon County that we could consider, and we could do the analysis to consider to leveraging. Up at where Interstate 80 and the Pennsylvania Northeast Extension come together in Kidder Township.
Right.
Great opportunity there. We have the Borough Council down in Palmerton and the mayor working with private citizens to reclaim and redevelop part of the old zinc company, the West. We already have some development on the East. The great thing about the West plan is it's within a couple miles of the Turnpike. It's on 248.
Oh, yeah.
So there's great opportunities down there. But we need synchronization at all levels of government. The townships, the boroughs, and the county, the state and federal, all coming together to create the conditions that will bring business in. And I think, Jack, what's important to that is, one has to have a vision for this county. And I really see this needs to be a county of opportunity where jobs, recreation, entertainment, and a balance of economic growth, and with obviously due consideration to conserving our natural beauty that brought even myself back to this area, it'll attract our children and grandchildren back to this area. Now, I want them to go to trade school, go to college, go into the military, broaden their horizons, meet a diversified group of people, ideas, but at some time, be it to raise their families, start a second career, I want to lure them back into Carbon County.
Right.
And without the tax incentives to bring business, which will increase the tax base, increase other forms of retailers and opportunities in here, it's going to be challenging. So I think taxes and jobs, the economy, they are so intrinsically linked together.
They are.
And they form the pillar of quality of life. Again, balancing it with things such as our natural beauty here in Carbon County.
Because certainly in Carbon County, everybody knows Jim Thorpe, okay? And so that you have the arts are supported very well. You're lucky enough to have the Opera House, the Peak, places like that. So great. Tourism is key for at least Jim Thorpe, as far as Jim.
Yeah.
So that's really terrific. But as you said, with taxes being... If you get more businesses in the county, the tax base increases. Therefore, the burden on the individual taxpayer decreases because, and so on. That's how that's all intertwined, And also, there's a couple of programs that, and you were talking about the zinc company and land in Palmerton. Okay, there's a couple of programs. One's brownfields, one's greenfields, and basically, without going into a lot of detail, it's you can develop that land if you clean it up to the point of the surrounding area. So that way you don't have to completely, clean it up. So that's brownfields and greenfields, but it has to be marketed. Right. You talked about a strategic plan, and it's there. But you got to market it, right? Right.
You got to market. You have to implement it. You have to refine it, adjust it as conditions change, as the environment changes. You hit upon, you mentioned Jim Thorpe and how fortunate that has been because of the investment that has taken place, really going back to the 70s and Agnes McCartney and what she has done to revitalize that area. She laid the groundwork. But we have an extremely diverse, 371 square miles of Carbon County. And there are, I'm showing a small map here. There are these sub-regions. And if you go up to Banks, Luzanne, Lehigh Township, they don't necessarily associate with Carbon County.
Right.
Just like Palmerton kind of associates more with Lehigh Valley, the Mahoning Valley, the great agricultural center, I like to think, has a different sense of mentality, and they view things a little bit differently than others. But it's how do we find or create the environment for sufficient development that we all benefit, not just Jim Thorpe, not just Lee Heighton.
Right.
And I think we're starting to see Lee Heighton is starting to have a renewal.
Oh, yeah.
I know up here in Lansford Alive, those folks are working extremely hard
Yes, they
to
are.
try to turn things around. And again, we do have to include, kind of the grassroots level when we talk about synchronizing the federal, state, municipalities, county, but it's those private entrepreneurs and citizens that we need to bring in.
Yeah.
And I would say, though, we also have to broaden our horizons. I hear we say, well, we don't have the superhighway infrastructure like I-80, 81 comes together, top of the 80s. But, in this day and age, there's also the information highway.
Yes.
So instead of maybe another 4-lane highway, maybe we need, 4 terabyte internet service.
Yeah.
And that would attract, again, create the conditions. Where are there natural gas lines? Or could a company, are there incentives maybe for putting solar panels on a building so a company can save money that way? We have to create those incentives, and that will induce companies to invest in this area. But it's going to be a hard, long struggle. But without a plan, without an implemented plan, without good analysis, we're never going to get there.
And that plan basically is called the comprehensive plan.
Right.
Every municipality has a comprehensive plan. You can develop it, and you can get it approved by the state, and you're all set. But, you got to market it.
That's right.
You got to market it. Now, Chris, excuse me. We have a break to take here. We'll be right back with more Did You Know? With Mr. Chris Lukasevich right after this message. No. That's not what we're going to do. I'm sorry about that. We're going to go to a break here anyway. I just forgot to click this. Now we're going to go. We'll be right back with more of Did You Know right after this.
There's more Did You Know with Captain Jack Kulp coming right up in just a bit on AM. With Captain Jack Kulp on AM 1410 WLSH.
The station you grew up with. That's right. This is Captain Jack Kulp. I'm back with you on this Tuesday, July the 17th. I almost forgot edition of Did You Know? And I'm pleased and honored to be joined by Mr. Chris Lukasevich, who's running for county commissioner in Carbon County for the 2019 election. And good morning again, Chris.
Good morning, Jack.
So you told me something during the break there that I was a little amazed at. And it had to do with the cost of incarceration as opposed to the budgeted amount of money that we have budgeted for our veterans.
Yeah, Jack, and I don't want to unnecessarily be comparing apples and oranges, and some may be it that way, but it just points to different challenges that we have in this county. In front of me, I have about a 2.5-inch binder, and that's the county budget for this current year. And bearing in mind a little bit more context, about 7.8% of the county population has served in the military. We have the third highest veteran population by percentage in the county, or excuse me, in the state of Pennsylvania. Now, talking about budgets, currently we spend $5.1 million on our prison up there in Nesquehoning on the side of the Broad Mountain. $5.1 million for about, let's just average it out to 200 is the normal population. Actually, it's been quite a bit higher, maybe up into the 210s, 220s.
Right.
So that equates for each prisoner up there in the Carbon County Correctional Facility, we're spending about $26,000. Now, if you look at the budget for our Veterans Outreach Office, that is $154,000. That equates to about $26 going towards supporting each veteran. So look at this, $26,000 to support the prison population, $26 to support our veterans. To me, that points to a problem that we have. And again, it's figuring out how to tackle that problem, how to put the resources, the time, the effort into what matters most and what would give us the most bang for our buck. Now, they have some challenges up there in the prison. The overtime continues to be. I've been going to the prison board meetings now as much as possible over the past 2 years, since, August of 16.
Right.
And we still have the recurring same problems. And there's a personnel problem up there. You go into a board meeting, a prison board meeting, over half of those meetings, over half, is an executive session. And what are discussed in executive sessions? Personnel matters.
Yep.
So that tells me not only do you have a personnel problem, you have a personnel problem that is not being effectively addressed. Now, they're trying, and they're hiring some full-time correctional officers to help kind of alleviate or mitigate some of those challenges.
Right.
But after 2 years, I still don't see a medium or long-term plan to help resolve the overall challenge we have. And we do have to go back to the sources. What is feeding the problem of incarceration, be it the opioid abuse, but it actually goes far further back than that to families.
And Chris, to be fair, those who serve on the prison board, those who serve in your planning commission, your zoning hearing board, and whatnot, God bless those people.
Absolutely. What a sacrifice.
Because, that's a you don't get patted in the back and thanked for that.
No, you don't. No, it is thankless service. It truly is.
It truly is.
Because we have so many great county employees. I was blessed. Ronnie Sheehan, as part of my MBA program at Lehigh University, I was able to do an internship.
Right.
And Ronnie Sheehan, the county treasurer, a wonderful individual, and we grew up with each other there on the Hill in Jim Thorpe. He provided me the opportunity to interact with many of the offices in county government.
Right.
And that we have great people doing great things, striving every single day to make a difference and serve this community. And I think one of the things we need to ensure that they are trained and equipped to meet our expectations.
Right.
It's not just say, we want you to do more, but we're going to ensure you're trained, you're equipped to do what we expect you to do in serving this community.
Right.
Yeah.
And Chris, we touched on something, I think, during the break that you might want to elaborate on a little bit, and it had to do with transportation. And PennDOT has what's called a 12-year program, and that is all the projects that they have on the list separated into 3 4-year segments. Each 4 years, I believe, the PennDOT holds hearings, and that's the time in which the municipalities can testify before that board to hopefully move their project up into the first 4 years of the 12-year program. So you may want to talk a little bit about that and the transportation issues that face Carbon County.
Yeah, as we're going back to increasing the tax base and understanding the importance of private entities bringing business into Carbon County, infrastructure is critical. A business wants to come in turnkey. They want gas utilities. They want road infrastructure. They want those critical enablers in place in order for them to invest and begin at the quickest time possible getting a return on investment of what they're going to give to the community and what they're going to provide. Infrastructure is critical to that. Our municipality leaders, being led by our county commissioners, working with the Carbon Chamber in a synchronized manner, making the case for that development that we believe is essential for setting the conditions for us. And I would say, though, when we think of infrastructure, again, don't simply think about the highways, the superhighways, the interstates, the turnpikes, but also in this day and age, the information highway. Terabytes of data being moved on fiber optic cables. You don't necessarily have to have a 200,000 square foot Amazon distribution center to get 50, 100, 200 jobs. You can do it in a much smaller area with a much smaller footprint, and then that would even lessen the burden necessarily, potentially, on the infrastructure. So instead of new bridges, new highways, we're running a fiber optic cable. We're incentivizing UGI to run a gas line up to where it isn't currently at or exists.
And there is also, when a business looks to locate in a given county, municipality, they look at a bunch of things. So first off, they look at what does that municipality, county, have to offer to our employees that will keep those employees working for us. Do they have the arts? You have. Do they have the Do you have efficient transportation? What's your tax structure? You know,
Right. Yeah. Right.
yeah. And, you know, so they look at various things, and it's up to county commissioners, amongst others, obviously, to market that and ensure that their tax structure is not burdensome and going to be a deterrent, and that the transportation is there. Rail, air, highway, as you mentioned, information as well, but that's not something PennDOT is involved
That's right.
in. Yeah.
Right.
So you have all of these things to look at, too. The downside that Carbon County has, and you touched on it, is that you're not at the intersection of 80 and 81. Right. You're not at the intersection of 78 and 81, you know, and whatnot, because the High Ridge Industrial Park right off of 81 doing very well for Schuylkill County.
Absolutely. Yep.
Those kind of things can do that well for Carbon County, too.
Yes, in particular areas. But we have to do the analysis again.
Right.
I'm all back, and that's from my military background. Before you jump into a problem and solving it, you have to analyze the terrain.
Absolutely.
You have to look at all those critical enablers that a business would want, such as we talked about, the infrastructure, the quality of life for employees, the tax base. Once you analyze those, then you can start what we call kind of throwing overlays on top of the map. So where all those good things come together, that's the area that you want to induce or promote or market as appropriate for development. And you have to be thinking about what type of industry, what type of light manufacturing might be appropriate. And then does the community, the children, the youth have the skill set to be gainfully employed there, either coming out of high school, out of trade school, coming out of this wonderful Carbon County Technical Institute that is doing a wonderful job. So, you know, the human resource part is so critical. And I think, you know, CCTI is a perfect example. They're being lauded throughout the state for the progress that they're making, preparing our youth to get into the jobs of not only today, but of the future. And again, we have to have that long-range strategic vision and plan. And then again, as I said, I want individuals to leave the county for a period of time, but I want to ensure those magnets are there to bring them back, just like I came back after 34 years.
And that's something that we got about 3 minutes here till the break, Chris.
Yeah.
That's something I'd like you to talk about a little bit, too, and that is our military training, but your military training to do just that, how that enables you to more accurately and to fulfill those things. So what do? You analyze, you know, and this is how your military training helps. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, when we are approached with a problem or we see a problem, our first thought process is, let's bring together those stakeholders, those people who have an equity, an interest in that problem, or who could be impacted that. Let's sit down, first and foremost, identify what the problem really is. Now, once we I have identified the problem, we do our research and start to develop courses of action. How can we attack that particular problem? Now that we've had, let's say we have 3 potential courses of action. Now we start comparing them against each other. Okay, you know, 1 is better than 2, 3 is better than 1, and at the end of the day, we find course of action 2 is the way we need to approach. So now we take course of action 2 and we war game it. We bring in what we call the red team. We bring all those pessimists, you know, those people who believe it can't be done.
Right.
And they look at our plan and they say, well, this can't be done or that can't be done. That's a good idea. Then we refine that course of action, and now we decide on it. Yes, this is the way we're going to go ahead, but we're making sure we have the resources to complete that,
That's
right?
it.
You have the money, you have the personnel, you have the time, right? Those critical factors. And now we begin, once we developed a refined plan or strategy based on that course of action, we have timelines. Okay, in 3 months, all permits must be secured. At 6 months, we'll be breaking ground.
Right.
We're following that timeline, and when we hit hiccups, we have these branch plans. Okay, we can't dig here because there's a rock. So what do? You go around the rock or you rip it out. That's kind of a branch plan. But you get right back on that plan and you follow your true north until you achieve that objective. So you're following that plan not only along a timeline, but a timeline that has objectives, or let me call them intermediate objectives, because we're trying to get to an end state. We have a purpose, what we're trying to do, a method, how we're going to get there, then the end state, where we want to be when this is completed.
Gotcha. Okay, Chris, thank you. When we come back, I want to talk about a little bit, well, Chris and I would like to talk a little bit about there's no shame in going to trade school. There's no shame whatsoever. We'll touch a little bit on that when we come back. This is Captain Jack Kulp. We'll be right back with more of Did You Know after your latest AccuWeather forecast.
Did You Know with Captain Jack Kulp will return in just a moment on AM 1410 WLSH. The station you grew up with. WLSH.
The best
The current temperature, 80 degrees.
Let's get back to more of Did You Know with Captain Jack Kulp on AM 1410 WLSH.
Goodness, I made it back just in time. I'm sorry. I'm an old fellow with the bladder the size of a walnut, so every once in a while I got to dash out. So we touched on school and CCTI and the trades. And this is one area that there is so much demand for people out there in the trades nationwide. Okay, because students are drilled into their heads. You got to go to college. You have to go to college. You don't have to go to college. You can make real good money and have excellent job security in the trades. And so Carbon County is lucky enough to have CCTI, and CCTI is being lauded by many for their accomplishments. So maybe you want to touch on that a little bit, Chris.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think in about the last 10 years or so, the mentality about what our economy needs and what is post-secondary, post-high school education has really changed. And we're at the point where we recognize that the trades, be it plumbing, HVAC, auto mechanics, the nursing profession, are critical needs in our society. Again, I like to call them enablers for a great quality of life and for the development of the area. And significant investment has to be made in those areas, and we need to change our mentality, as Jack, as you clearly articulated. It's not necessarily you have to go to college to be successful. I have friends, childhood friends, right there in Jim Thorpe, successful plumber, a successful builder, and that's all based on their trade school experience. And two of them are actually, what we called the Votech school back in the day. Graduates of the Votech school. And then there's others who followed that up with a little bit of a trade school, or if not, continuing certification. Not necessarily going to a 4-year college.
Right.
I would like to also mention, Jack, I had to take a prerequisite course for my Master's of Business Administration in statistics. And well, where did I go to do that? I'm studying at Lehigh. But no, I went to L-Tri-C, Lehigh Carbon Community College. I went to the Tamaqua campus. Incredible. The teacher I had, who was also a PIAA official, was just wonderful. And, talking to the students up there who just came out of high school and were doing that transition, and the opportunities the foundation that L-Tri-C forms is another great institution right here in Carbon County. You have the Jim Thorpe branch, then you have up in Tamaqua. So there's opportunities there also to at least get the foundations or even to get your associate's degree right here locally and apply that. And then at an appropriate time, if you want to further your education or advance it, you can. But I'd love to go back and emphasize again the thought that you have to go to college. No, you don't. There's plenty of successful individuals locally, nationally, who have simply attended trade schools and have benefited from it greatly. I remember guys going to Lincoln Tech down in the outright.
Yeah.
A short commute down the turnpike, 35 minutes.
My brother
and you're at
went.
Lincoln Tech.
Yeah.
One of my best and nearest friends. And he is so highly successful in the information technology realm. And I'm sure back in the day he was probably just soldering resistors. But that served as the foundation for him.
Exactly.
So we should never underestimate or understate the importance of the trade and the opportunities that it presents to individuals.
And, the service is a good place to start.
Yep.
Yeah, you joined, any branch of the service. So
Yep.
any of the five
Yep.
branches,
Yep.
it'll make a man out of you.
Yeah, that absolutely will.
It will.
Yep.
And it gives you those critical skills in analysis and moving ahead. As Chris was saying, you get everybody on board. The brigade comes down and says, okay, company commanders, what are your resources? What do you think you can put towards this problem? Can you achieve this objective? Then the company commanders take that back. Their platoon leaders, okay, guys, this is these critical skills that you learn in the service, and some of them are just personal skills that today I still have. Chris, I know has.
Right.
Who was there was a general who recently said, when you get up in the morning, fix your bed.
That's right. That
You've already accomplished something.
That was Admiral McRaven. He was the commander of U.S. Special Operations Command, and as a special operator myself for 34 years, and I continue to be. That's what this beard is about. I have today. I'm getting ready to go out and mentor Army Special Forces folks here in Louisiana and Texas at the end of the week.
Right.
Admiral McRaven said, you want to start every day with a success. And that first success is make your bed. So now you have, you have one feather in your cap, one arrow there.
I've
already.
accomplished something
That's
already.
right.
And I just got out of bed.
Right.
And I've accomplished something. These are things, now this is kind of a simple thing, but these are some of the skills that you have that stay with you for life. And they're critical, useful skills that you can learn in the service. Oh, yeah. There's the GI Bill, VA health benefits, which I have no complaint about whatsoever.
Right. Nor do I.
That's great. Yeah. All of these benefits, and you can go to school then 4 years, free.
Yep.
Because
absolutely.
you served. You served our country.
Yep. And we need to be thankful to the American taxpayer and to our elected officials and representatives who had voted and continue to vote to keep the GI Bill strong.
Yeah.
I've been blessed, as I mentioned at the beginning, Jack, 34 years of service. The American people, the U.S. Army, invested 34 years in my training and education and provided me the time. Now, that came at a cost to my family and to maybe other pleasures that I would like to have serving in our country, but the benefit has been so significant. I'll give you examples of the Army helping me in the way of, kind of traditional education. They allowed me or facilitated my associate's degree, a bachelor's degree from Penn State. They gave me a ROTC scholarship to go to Penn State.
Yes.
Then, 6 years later, they turned around and said, we want to send you to grad school. They sent me to the University of Arizona for grad school. And now that I retired, I still had GI Bill benefits, and now I'm using that to better understand business and how businesses operate, so that can be applied, human resources, financial, applied to the role of Carbon County Commissioner. But it's all because of the GI Bill provided me those opportunities, it's the investment that the people of this county have made in me, the American people have made in me, and I know it's opportunities that other kids and youth who are getting ready to graduate seriously need to consider. That 2-year time in service, the National Guard, the Reserve, or active duty. And you mentioned the 5 services. My Jim Thorpe class of 80, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard.
Right.
And don't forget about the Merchant Marine.
Yeah.
I would also, things like working for the Peace Corps, the Civilian Conservation Corps equivalent of today that is out there, AmeriCorps.
Right.
Those types of things are all horizon broadening, and they provide you incentives towards your education should you desire to kind of continue past high school. All great opportunities that we shouldn't forget. And I'm sure our counselors in the schools are ensuring that the students understand the breadth of opportunities that are out there.
Yeah, and God bless those schools that are still offering the ROTC program because it's needed. And what's the saying about when you raise your right hand, you are writing a check to all of the citizens of our country, payable up to your life.
Yeah,
your life. So
absolutely.
we owe our veterans these benefits.
Yeah, no, that's great, Jack. And you mentioned the ROTC program, and I was blessed by it there out at Penn State at University Park. But I have to give my hats off to. I had the honor of my last time to wear military uniform on active duty was either probably late November, early December of 2014. So it was right before my last day on the Army rolls, as we call it. Mm-hmm. And I got to speak to the junior ROTC here at Panther Valley High School.
Yeah.
What another great program. And
fantastic.
my only issue is that it's not in more county schools. And because I always had this vision as I thought, and I talked to the instructors up there, well, what if there was a junior ROTC program that the entire county could benefit or take advantage of? And what am I talking about? CCTI, right? Because, it has changed. CCTI, the Carbon County Technical, is now a school where you go to for the entire day for most students. Right. Where back years ago, it used to be half a day at home school, half a day. Yeah. So what if there was a junior ROTC program based out of Carbon County Technical Institute, where students from all over the county could benefit from learning how to be a good citizen, the leadership, the management skills that are taught. Now, that isn't a recruiting tool for the Army or any other service. Mm-hmm. It's about creating good citizens, and we need more of that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Good citizens with a good personal sense of responsibility to your country and the citizens, and I'm sure you'll probably agree with me, Chris. I'm proud of our country.
Oh, absolutely.
Damn proud.
Yeah, absolutely.
Damn proud. And all of this lately, this disrespecting our flag and our country,
unacceptable,
just sends me up the wall.
Yep. Unacceptable.
And it's just nonetheless. Well, we're getting off the county stuff.
That's all right.
So, last 3 minutes or so of the show, Chris. You're going to run in the 2019 ballot. So how about if you summarize for us why people should vote for Chris Lukasevich for Carbon County Commissioner?
Well, Jack, again, thank you for this opportunity this morning, and I appreciate probably more than anything your strong patriotism and sense of duty and obligation to this country. And to you and your Vietnam veterans, thank you for your service, as you have also thanked me. So I sincerely appreciate that.
As do I.
Right. The taxpayers of Carbon County, they have made a significant investment in my life, my career, my personal and professional development. And from that investment, I was able to speak to a vision that I have for this county about creating an environment of opportunity that brings back our children, our grandchildren, and then even others, who want to invest in this community. Mm-hmm. You've made the investment in me, my leadership, my management skills, my education, my training. Mm-hmm. I'm prepared to, again, provide selfless service to you and pay back to you for the character formation, the work ethic that you gave me that led to the successes that I feel I have accomplished, and others have graciously thanked me for. Mm-hmm. Give me the opportunity. You only have to do two things. May of 2019 and November of 2019, you need to go into that booth, pushed Lukasevich for Carbon County Commissioner in 2019. And the one guarantee I will give you, and the only one is, and I give this to every individual I've ever worked with, peers, subordinates, or superiors, I will give you 110% every single day. I will be focused on your task, what's important to you, because if it matters to you, it matters to me. And I take that to heart, and I get goosebumps when I think about it. I am so grateful to have been raised here in Carbon County, and I'm so grateful to have the opportunity to give back to the citizens.
Well, I must say, Chris, thank you very much. It was an honor having you on the show today. And our time has come to an end for Did You Know? So this is Captain Jack Kulp signing off for right now, but coming up just after the ABC News is the All Request and Dedication Party right here on AM 1410 WLSH, the station you grew up with.
You've been listening to Did You Know with Captain Jack Kulp. Did You Know is an AM 1410 WLSH production. Stay tuned now for more of whatever's coming up next, right here on Great Radio, AM 1410 WLSH, an American original.
Veterans, thank you for your service, as you have also thanked me. So I sincerely appreciate that.
As do I.
Right. The taxpayers of Carbon County, they have made a significant investment in my life, my career, my personal and professional development. And from that investment, I was able to speak to a vision that I have for this county about creating an environment of opportunity that brings back our children, our grandchildren, and then even others, who want to invest in this community. Mm-hmm. You've made the investment in me, my leadership, my management skills, my education, my training. Mm-hmm. I'm prepared to, again, provide selfless service to you and pay back to you for the character formation, the work ethic that you gave me that led to the successes that I feel I have accomplished, and others have graciously thanked me for. Mm-hmm. Give me the opportunity. You only have to do two things. May of 2019 and November of 2019, you need to go into that booth, push Lukasevich for Carbon County Commissioner in 2019. And the one guarantee I will give you, and the only one is, and I give this to every individual I've ever worked with, peers, subordinates, or superiors, I will give you 110% every single day. I will be focused on your task, what's important to you, because if it matters to you, it matters to me. And I take that to heart, and I get goosebumps when I think about it. I am so grateful to have been raised here in Carbon County, and I'm so grateful to have the opportunity to give back to the citizens.
Well, I must say, Chris, thank you very much. It was an honor having you on the show today. And our time has come to an end for Did You Know? So this is Captain Jack Kulp signing off for right now, but coming up just after the ABC News is the All Request and Dedication Party right here on AM 1410 WLSH, the station you grew up with.
You've been listening to Did You Know with Captain Jack Kulp. Did You Know is an AM 1410 WLSH production. Stay tuned now for more of whatever's coming up next, right here on Great Radio, AM 1410 WLSH, an American original.
AM 1410 WLSH, Lansford, Lehighton, Hazleton. The station you grew up with.